Welcome to Evolve with the Modern Caveman. Ooh,
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to another episode of Evolve with the Modern Caveman. I'm your host, Gilbert Diaz, aka the Modern Caveman himself. If you're joining us for the very first time, allow me to formally welcome you to the evolution. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, out of your day, and choosing to spend it with us. It is my belief that time is your most valuable asset. I say this week after week. Time is your most valuable asset, and the fact that you have chosen to spend that time with us, I want you to know that I do not take a second of that for granted, and it is my goal and my intention here on this podcast to pour as much value into your life as I possibly can to help you evolve into the next best version of yourself, so that you can unlock your greatness, walk in your potential, and become the man or woman that God created you to be. If you're a returning member, I would like to just formally say thank you for tuning in once again to another episode, tuning in week after week. You may be wondering what's going on here is a little bit different of a setup, and that is because there's no heat in my studio, so I decided to record here in my dining room. I also want to thank everybody who's been tuning into our live episodes, our special live episodes on Thursday nights, 9:30 Thursdays at 9:30 on TikTok. We've been hosting special episodes, and that's what you're going to get here today, a special episode, a replay of a special episode that we recorded on Thursday night with my buddy and best friend, Rollin from the Rollin Barrel. If you're not familiar with Rollin, me, him, and CMA Rockstar once hosted the Thrive in Life podcast prior to Evolve with the Modern Caveman. If you haven't already, definitely check out any of those episodes. We dive into a lot of the same kind of things that we speak about here on Evolve. There's a lot of great topics there that we touch on, a few laughs along the way as well. So definitely check out that podcast. But for the past 3 weeks, we've been engaging in a limited series on men's mental health. If you are aware, men's mental health is how we started this podcast. We started it in June for about 2 to 3 weeks, and we had such a great response on it that we decided to kind of dive a little bit deeper, and this time try to host these live so that we can get some live engagement from other men and even women who are tuning in. The first episode was kind of a brief introduction. I'm labeling these as special episodes. Last week's episode, which was a episode that was very, very I think important for men to hear, is men's standards and expectations, the standards that we put on ourselves, the standards that we should be putting ourselves versus the expectations that we often try to live by, or the expectations we want other men to live by. So that was last week's episode 2, special episode 2, and this week's episode is another one that I think is a must-needed topic. It's about fatherhood. Special episode 3, fatherhood. We dive deep into what it means to be a father, the expectations that come with being a father, and some of those things that us as fathers should look closely to. It definitely was an episode that hits home. It's an episode that is dear to my heart. I'm a father of 3. Rollin's a father of 5. So, without further ado, definitely enjoy this episode. If there is somebody in your life that is a father that can benefit from from this, definitely share this episode out. Let us know what you think of the episodes. Like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. And without further ado, special episode 3, Fatherhood. So let's get into this beast, man.
Let's get it. Let's tackle this monster. Yes, son. Everywhere. We're everywhere. We're trying to spread our wings and find our comfort right now, and that's where we're at. So
yeah.
But I got a real question for you, man.
Okay.
In terms of fatherhood, right? Because you got both. Like I said before, you got the dynamic, right? You got the boy, you got the girl. You're pretty much experiencing it all.
Yeah.
What troubles do you face? And you know what? I'm gonna throw something else in there. You're also married, so like it's a full family for you, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, what troubles do you face, and what do you see? How do you overcome the issues that arise within those dynamics?
Whew, I mean, that's a loaded one. That's a loaded one because I have a daughter, and she's coming into her she is in her teenage years now, and then I got 2 boys, both of them diagnosed with autism, anxiety disorders. So we're dealing also with that part, as well as the testosterone, as well as the young, these young boys coming into their own. So, yeah, I mean, and then, try to feed that all together with, as a married man, trying to keep everything together. It is a tough one. I would say the thing that for me holds it together, and it may seem very cliche, but lots of prayer, man. I think you have to hold on to something. I think you have to have a purpose, and you have to strive for that purpose. And as a father, as a husband, I think you have to lead in that purpose. You have to lead in that purpose, and you're gonna have, because there's so many different dynamics there. What's going on, CMA? Everybody, CMA Rockstar used to be part of our Thrive in Life podcast. Also, self-development, almost 100 episodes. Check that out as well. Me, Rollin, CMA. She's our sister here, so definitely check that out. You're gonna have all those kinds of different dynamics that come, right? Because there's differences in each. But I think when you have something at your center, you can handle it all. And I think also choosing the right partner in your life really does help.
Yeah. Hisses and Kisses asked about the support of your wife. Is that present? I know the answer to that, but you want to speak on that? I have another question for you to follow up.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely do, and I know I'm fortunate in that, because there's situations in a lot of marriages where is one-sided, whether it's on the men's side or the female side. Me and my wife are very supportive of one another. My wife is my biggest cheerleader, and she helps me be a better man. They always say, right, wherever there's a successful man, there's a woman right behind. And I would say my success is the contribution of what she does for me, and how she contributes to my life, pours into my life. And that's Evie right there down in the comments. So you could, I'm not just, stroking her ego there. It is all true.
Stroking her ego. He told me before this live, he was like, watch, I'm going to make her blush.
But yeah.
So a follow-up question. The follow-up question is, you mentioned leadership in that before. What does leadership look like in your situation or in your case? What's up, Mudfoot? I appreciate the likes. Thank you, brother. Thank you.
For me,
because the reason why I ask, before you get into that, the reason why I ask is because leadership looks different in every household, right?
Yeah.
Like how you lead and how you carry your home would be completely different than how I would, do it in my home. You get what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And I just want to understand what it is that, from your perspective, what that leadership looks like.
Yeah.
What's up,
Well,
Steph?
there's what's going on, Steph. There's an age old saying, right? You got to stand for something or you'll fall for anything.
Hmm.
And I'm a true believer in that. And I think for me, it's having that having values, having
Hmm.
values and morals at the center of my family helps me lead. Now, I think the second caveat to that is being transparent and honest. There's one thing that I'll be honest with everybody. I'm a dad, but I'm a broken dad as any other dad is.
Hmm.
You know, I mess up all the time.
Yeah.
You know, it's crazy because I don't know if you ever had this, you know, growing up, but you know, you grow up and maybe something happens to you or you see somebody um relationship with their father, you say, I would never do that, or I would never, you know, or maybe dad is being too harsh on me or whatever, and you know, I'm gonna change that. And there are certain things that you have to change, but there's so many times we say, never gonna do it. I'm gonna be the perfect dad, and the truth is that I don't think there's such a thing as a perfect. I think
Interesting.
yeah, there's no such thing as a perfect dad, and I think that's where the beauty lies is in that
Mm.
process of learning how to overcome and grow and like I said, be transparent and honest. My kids know that I mess up all the time, and I
Mm.
have to be as far as a leader is concerned. I need to show them that I can take responsibility when I do,
Yeah. Well,
and I
perfection.
apologize to my kids when I do.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And you kind of have to, in a sense, right? And an apology
Hmm.
doesn't mean coming outward and saying I'm sorry. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it could be gestures. Kids understand things a lot differently than we do. You know,
Hmm.
to touch on what Hisses and Kisses were saying before, um, it it seems that way. It does seem like every parent has a child with some kind of mental disorder, but there's a thing going around where people just diagnose, right? Doctors just diagnose, right? And a lot of these things are misdiagnosis, right?
Hmm.
That's a whole nother animal, and that's something completely different. That's another topic for another day. But just understand that that's not every household, and that's not every family, and that's
Hmm.
not every situation.
Hmm.
Um, there's a misconception going on too, touching on what you were saying before, and the misconception is perfection, right?
Hmm.
Perfection is a
Yeah.
huge misconception. Everybody gets that confused. Everybody wants, oh my God, this is so perfect. This is what I want. This is my idea. This is the ideal situation for me. But it's a misconception. The only reason it's a misconception is because you're seeing it with rose-colored glasses, right? You're seeing it in a light
Yeah.
that you would prefer it, right? And then the minute that it doesn't go that way, or something's slightly off, or you're just not satisfied with what it is that you're going through, then it's no longer perfect, right? Then you
Hmm.
still have to work at it, right?
Yeah.
If it was perfect, you wouldn't have to work at it at all. If it was perfect, you
Hmm.
wouldn't have to deal with it. You wouldn't have to work on certain things to try to make it where you want it to be, because there would be no point, right? And I think
Hmm.
the beauty is in the growth. The beauty is
It is.
in the process, right? We talk about this all the time. You can
Hmm.
grow and you can grow and you can grow, but once you get to that point where you feel like you haven't grown enough, then guess what? You still got some growing to do. You get
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because
Appreciate it.
perfection is a huge misconception, and not
Yeah.
everybody, nobody's perfect, and not every
Yeah.
situation is perfect. There's always
Yeah.
going to be a curveball thrown at you. You get
Yeah.
what I'm saying? So.
Strive for progression, not for
Mhm.
perfection. You know, I think
There it is.
that's so
Rizz,
key.
my brother. Appreciate you.
Riz, man, thank you for coming in. Thank you for gifting us and everything. We appreciate you, brother. Um, yeah, I mean, so true. I mean, I have a question for you because
Oh,
you have a different dynamic, right?
yeah, completely different.
You got five boys, you know,
Hmm.
and you're a single dad. So
Yeah,
how do you navigate that?
think
Because I know that's
very
not easy.
carefully.
Yeah.
Very carefully. You know, Listen, my brother, you know what it is over here. It's the same way here.
Mhm.
We appreciate you. But yes, I
Yep.
do. And ironically enough, they're all at different stages of life.
Hmm.
So how I would have to address one is not necessarily how I would address another. you know,
Mm-hmm.
and they each have their own personality. So I also have to handle them accordingly. You get what I'm saying? So with all that being said, it's a process and it's difficult. It does have its moments and it's challenging, but understanding what I've been through growing up, understanding my situations, understanding my life, and this is why it's
Mm-hmm.
important for you to look forward or look inward, because looking inward and understanding where you've been, you're coming
Mm-hmm.
from a place where you know better, right?
Yeah.
You're coming from a place where you understand the situations, you understand what life can be,
Mm-hmm.
and that's where you navigate it, right? So one of my kids might be going through puberty right now. I have a 12-year-old, one of them is 12. He's going through puberty, so he's kind of like balancing his hormones, and then he's trying to be a kid, but then he's trying to be grown, and then he's, what's up, Haiti? But at the same
Indeed.
time, like understanding what he's going through, because I went through it with my two older boys.
Mm-hmm.
I sit there and I have a conversation with him and I explain everything to him. Hey, this is how it's going. This is what's
Mm-hmm.
happening. This is what it is. And I can talk to him like that. I can talk to him like, I can have a real life conversation with him. Whereas
Mm-hmm.
my son who's younger than him, I have a 5-year-old as well. I can't have that conversation with him because he wouldn't grasp the concept. He wouldn't understand it.
Yeah.
Right. So leadership for me, uh, I'm divorced. I am divorced, but leadership for me in that sense is is tailored in the structure that I provide,
Yeah.
right? I Although I treat them all accordingly and I treat them all with respect and dignity, and I raise them to be young men to
Mm-hmm.
which they're becoming. It's about the structure that I provide for them, and that's the most important part. You
Mm-hmm.
can't lead without any kind of structure.
Mm-hmm.
If the house is
Yeah.
burning down and everybody's in chaos and there's pandemonium all over the place,
Mm-hmm.
really, what kind of leadership are you affecting? You
Yeah.
know,
Welcome in,
what
Lou.
kind of, and in my eyes and the way that I see things is I'm not gonna lead somebody if I'm not gonna prepare them for leadership themselves. You
Mm-hmm.
get what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
if my kids need it, they're gonna get that.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to get that part of me every single time, because I want them to be strong, effective leaders.
Mm-hmm.
Because in my household, there's structure, there's
Yeah.
organization, there's a standard that we need to set. And I think that's important for us as men, right? And it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't matter the dynamic of your household. It's important
Mm-hmm.
for you as a man to have some kind of structure, to have some kind of organization, to have some discipline and understand, where to place your leadership style and how to effectively control your environment.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean control as in like grab the reins and roll with iron fist, but no, understand your left and right
Mm-hmm.
limits, but
Mm-hmm.
be able to work within those. You get what
Yeah.
I'm saying?
100%. Man, there's a lot that we could definitely touch on that,
Yeah.
because there's the discipline aspect, right? Because
Yeah.
discipline has this kind of dirty
It's
I guess
tainted. It's a tainted image.
yeah, it's a tainted image, exactly.
Hmm.
And we look at discipline today, especially in today's world. You know, um, I think we talk about it like all the time, where it feels like it's a softer generation coming up, and
Yeah.
there's also that level of masculinity.
Hmm.
How does masculinity play into being a good
Hmm.
dad, being comfortable in your masculinity?
Hmm.
Um, so that, I mean, man, there's a lot. I
It's a
want
lot.
to, yeah,
Ask
I want
away.
to,
Let's unpack, because this is what we're here for, right?
yeah.
And you know i appreciate
Mm-hmm.
i appreciate everybody that's in this live, right? And the people who are listening from the outside, I appreciate you as well. I want them to
Mm-hmm.
understand that, because this is something that's needed. These are needed conversations, these are
Mm-hmm.
needed talks, these are needed growing lessons, these are needed growth curves, and we
Mm-hmm.
don't have them enough.
Yeah, we
It's
don't.
real. It is 80. It's deep,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yeah.
it can get crazy. You know what I mean? But this is why it's important for us to have these conversations, because it's been getting out of hand.
Mm-hmm.
And it's time to bring it back in. It's time to come together and figure this out, and then figure out how we can fix the world. You know, Rizz
Yeah.
says it all the time in his lives. He cares about humanity. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I care about humanity, but probably not to his extent. You know what
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying? It's just one of those things that we have to fix it now before it gets
Mm-hmm.
crazier, because it's already out
And
of control. There's already chaos.
and for those who are popping in and stuff like that, we seeing the numbers come up and stuff like that. This, what we're trying to do here is figure out how we make a better man.
Hmm.
How do we navigate this thing as men?
Hmm.
And like I said before, for the women that are in here,
What's
we
up,
need
Brenda?
you a part of the process. We
Hmm.
definitely need you a part of the process. So that's what I said. Listen in, contribute, do and I mean by what I mean by contribute, comment. We're not asking for any gifts or anything like this. Is totally free on us. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, just
The
engagement is all we
live
ask.
engagement. That's all we ask. Like it, share it to a man that
Yeah,
could use this in your life. A father that probably is going through a hard time. Send it out. And it's
yeah.
crazy, D, because we talk to a lot of dads all the time, man,
Hmm.
and there's this facade as men that we've talked about in the previous episodes that us men often have to kind of put on to be to feel like we're strong in our environments, so that we can feel so that our kids can see us as a source of strength,
I'm,
right?
I'm gonna pause that one. Hold that thought. Put a pin in that thought right now, because
Okay.
if you're comfortable in your own skin, if you're comfortable in your own
Hmm.
masculinity, there's no facade needed. There's no
I
image
agree.
that you need to put in. You know, you just gotta
Hmm.
go to a place where you understand yourself, understand the
Hmm.
role that you play as a man, and then there'll be no need for a mask.
Yeah,
But go ahead.
100%. No, and I agree. But the truth
Yeah,
is how
who
many
wants to be like me?
the truth is how many men do it though, right? That's what I'm
Hmm.
saying, right? How many
Yeah.
men walk around with that facade, trying to, I wouldn't say be something that they're not, but
Hmm.
trying to portray what they believe is the hero, what they believe
Hmm.
is the definition of what a man looks like. Exactly,
Hmm.
whereas the burden of performance, you know,
Hmm.
it's it's such a hard thing. But you said something earlier about standards, and I think that's
Yeah.
so important. If you want to
Yeah.
lead your family, if you want to be a good dad, you have to have standards. And we talked about it before. I believe it was week one or week. Oh yes, last week.
Last week,
Standard,
yeah. Standards
yeah.
and expectations.
Standards and expectations, right? You have to have the high standards for yourself.
Hmm.
You have to have this high standards for yourself, so that way you can properly lead your family. And I think
100%.
I think that's one of the key areas, one of the key things that are often missing in today's society among men is we're not living up to our potential.
Hmm.
We're not living up to the potential that we could be. We're not living up to our dreams. How many times we tell our children, you can be anything you want to be. You could touch the stars if you try hard enough. And then I don't know, we get to a certain point and we stop believing it not only for ourselves, but we stop believing it for our kids too. But we
Hmm.
keep telling them, right?
Yeah. I have a few ideas about that. I have a few thoughts about that.
Yeah.
Um, Hisses and kisses, I wanted to address something. I don't want you to think that I'm ignoring you. I'm not ignoring you. It does get overwhelming every once in a while. Like once in a
Hmm.
while, it does get overwhelming, but this is life, right? There's no time for me to feel overwhelmed or to slow down, especially
Hmm.
when I have young kids. You know, they keep me on my toes, and I have to keep on pushing for them. You get what I'm saying? So no matter how overwhelming it may get, it's it's more about their success and their future.
Hmm.
Um, to touch on what you were saying, the way the way that I can explain it is you have to look at it from an outside perspective, right? So I step
Hmm.
beside myself all the time. I'm always looking from a different direction or from a different angle, right? I try very rarely to stay within the situation that I'm in, within all that stuff, right? If you have standards and if you have expectations for yourself and your leadership style, very rarely do you feel like you have to stray from those. If you have a goal set in mind, you should keep on pushing for that goal, right? And we talk about this all the time. Once you have a goal set in mind, there's always going to be those checkpoints between the start to that goal, right? You got to find those checkpoints and be like, okay, by this time, this is what I wanted to do, and I got it. You get what I'm saying? And you just keep on hitting those checkpoints. Once you hit those checkpoints, you get to that end goal, you'll feel so much more accomplished. This is increasing your standards. This is raising your standards. This is pushing you to a different level. You're no longer on that plateau. You get what I'm saying? So I think the reason why we lose hope and we lose those dreams that we have and those aspirations when we're young is because we don't have the right examples of how to accomplish those goals, of how to accomplish those dreams. You know, we pretty much grew up together, right? So you've seen it firsthand how much we wanted to do when we were younger, and then where we are now, a completely different, extremely different life paths, right? But we didn't really have those examples for those kinds of dreams, right? We always had daytime TV. We always had like Family Matters. We always had Fresh Prince. We always had those kinds of TV shows, the comedic.
That was our education right there.
And those were pretty much education for us, right? Because the Uncle Phils of those shows, you get what I'm saying? The Carls of those shows, those are the examples that we had. You know, very rarely.
Mr. Feeney's too.
Mr. Feeney's. Like we had those role models that pretty much set the standard, but they were intangible, especially for us, because they didn't really live the lifestyle that we lived. You get what I'm saying? We didn't see that. What we saw was on the TV screen, what they portrayed, what they put out there. And that's why I feel like the image and then the dreams and aspirations that we had were really limited to our capabilities at the time, because we didn't have the knowledge to do so. We didn't have the experience to do so. We didn't have the wisdom to go forward and do the things that we wanted to do. We didn't have the challenges, kind of like what his and Kisses said. You know, when you challenge yourself, it's a different situation. When you're challenged by someone that you admire, like a role model, then you have something to push forward for. You get what I'm saying? Like, at the time when I was younger, I didn't understand how to be my own role model. I didn't understand how to be, you know, that example for myself for what I wanted for the next level. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I wanna shout out actually two people back in high school when we were in high school. It was a gym coach. His name was Mr. DeBellis.
He's doing. DeBellis? I thought you were going to say Coach V.
Yeah, I know a lot of people had Coach V and they were inspired by him. Mr. DeBellis, I know he's doing a lot of big things right now. I think he's a principal and everything. He's doing an amazing job touching kids' lives. Another one was a guy named Mr. Graham. I learned so much about finance, so much about economics, everything out of this man. But these were tough men. And if you didn't have a father figure in your life, somebody to aspire to be, these were men that really cared about their jobs. I want to thank those kinds of teachers, those kinds of men, those kinds of people, those church leaders, whatever it is that, you know, that uncle that you may have that may not have had kids himself, but he decided to take you under his wing and being an example for you. I want to just shout out those people, because those are the people that even when we didn't have those Carl Winslows, you know, even though those were like those I was going to say Dr. Phil from Fresh Prince, the
Uncle Phil.
Yeah. Even though like those felt a little untangible, right? Those were the people that brought it down to earth, you know. And so if there is a guy like that in your life, a man like that you've come in, you know, contact with at any point, you know, I definitely will hold those people in high regard. I really believe that who you surround yourself really contributes to to your entire perspective and outlook on life. And, I think so many times the reasons why we often can't see our kids, we can't lead our kids to the success that they're looking for is because we stop striving for ourselves. There's
100%. Riz, we got you. We're
there,
gonna open up the boxes here in a little bit.
yeah, we're going to open it up in about 10, 15 minutes. We'll open it up. What's going on, Kendra? There's a quote by Ed Milet, and this one hit hard. It's from his book, Power of One More. And it says, one of the biggest forms of child, I'm now separating abuse, right? I don't know how TikTok is going to take that, but the biggest form of neglect is a parent who doesn't walk in their potential.
Mm-hmm.
Because if we want to be leaders, if we want to be able to tell our kids that you can strive for the stars and you can do the impossible, then why do we stop doing it? We have to be men of example. We got to be men of action.
Exactly. Those are the examples I was talking about before that we didn't have when we were younger. So now we are the examples. So if we continue that trend, right, our kids are not going to have those examples. They're going to be in our shoes when they're our age, trying to preach about the same thing, talk about the same thing. And it's a never ending cycle. And that's why the change has to happen sooner rather than later. I think the quote that I'm going to say. I'm probably going to butcher it, but hard times make soft men, right? Soft men make hard times. I think I butchered it, but
You did butcher it.
I did, but you get what I'm saying. Like
hard times make strong men. Strong men make easy times. Easy times make soft men.
See, this is why I said it, because I knew you would catch it. But that's the reality, right?
Yeah.
So, and it's just a never ending cycle, right? So once you get to a certain point, it's gonna come right back full circle. Boom. Here we go. Now I gotta be tough again. You know what I mean? Things are good now. I could chill, I could relax. I don't have to be that tough now. Oh shit, here comes the wave again. You get what I'm saying? And those are the things that we should pay attention to. You know what I'm saying? We got to understand the cycles. We got to understand the circles and how things come back full circle. Haiti said, how do you support your son's emotional side, but also encourage a sense of masculinity?
That's
a tricky one. That's a tricky one, right? Because because I have all boys, right? And not one of them are the same. In terms of like how they handle their emotions, how they handle themselves, how they cope. Not one of them are the same.
Appreciate you, man.
Thank you, CMA. Much love. But not one of them are the same in terms of how they handle themselves, right? How they self-regulate and stuff. So in order to support them, I would have to have a different conversation with each of them. Yeah. Right? And it's tough to navigate, but with a lot of poise and a lot of respect and a ton of understanding. I think
that's the key there. Who you saying respect, right? Because you have to respect your son's emotions.
Right.
You have to respect the changes that they're going through in their life. And so many times I think we give the younger generations a hard time. And the truth is we're not walking in their shoes under their circumstances. We may say, oh, well, they got it so easy, but their challenges are different. Our parents said it about us and our parents' parents said it about them, so every generation has their own levels of challenges and levels of conflicts that they have to deal with that completely rattles their emotions. And we have to have a level of respect. I like that you said that, a level of respect, because if we can't show respect to our sons and our daughters now, especially as men, then how are they going to learn how to show respect to others in the future?
Yeah,
I just wanted to,
100%.
because I thought that
No,
was a great
for
little
real,
pin there.
for real. And you have to keep on doing those kinds of things, but it takes a lot of poise
Hmm.
too. You got to understand where their emotions are, you know. But when I talk to my kids, it's more rational, you know. I try
Hmm.
to rationalize with them, and I try to
Hmm.
understand where they're coming from. I understand their feelings, but I also try to help them rationalize and regulate what they're going through. You know, like I said
Hmm.
before, my 12-year-old, he's going through puberty, so I sit down and have a conversation with him. Okay, this is what your hormones are. You know what I mean? I'll
Hmm.
break out the computer and I'll sit there and I'll show him stuff too. Like we'll look it up.
Hmm.
Hormones. This hormone does this. What's dopamine? What's this? What's that? And then we'll
Yeah.
break it down. You know. So it's more about understanding and
Hmm.
respecting their energy, respecting their time, respecting their space, because they're not going to all receive it the same way, especially when you
Hmm.
have multiple.
Hmm. Well, Lynette, I mean, I'm trying to understand the vernacular of your sentence. I'm assuming like that soft parenting, or like I'm assuming that's what you're saying. Um, I think.
What's up, Tina?
All right, so let's throw a wrench in this, right?
Uh-oh.
Soft parenting as men, hard parenting. What works?
Again, it's about personality, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because I have 5 boys with every personality you can think of, you know,
Mm-hmm.
within them, and I can't be super tough on one and then really soft on another, because it won't work that way, you
Mm-hmm.
know. And if you do the blanket treatment, if you like treat everybody the same and everybody identical, then you run the risk of, well, he's not paying attention to me. He doesn't
Yeah.
understand me. He doesn't see what I'm going through. He doesn't know what I'm feeling. You know what I mean? So it
Mm-hmm.
it depends, exactly. It depends on the emotional state of the child, and it also depends on their intellectual level to comprehend what it is that you're trying to show
Right. Okay, so I said
them.
what Lynette was saying, and that's kind of like the hierarchy system, um, the or the submissive dominant system. I think that's probably the best way to kind of describe it. I think what's important, right, is that no matter what it is, that if your kids can look back at you and can see that you are their protector, right? That you are their provider, and there's many ways to provide, right? That you are their protector, that you are their provider, that you are their confidant, that you are their safe place, you're their security. I think that's what truly matters.
Mhm.
And I don't think when social roles, I think you can kind of throw out the window as long as they can recognize that when I need to when I need to count on dad, he's there. That's really,
Mhm.
I think, all that matters in that situation. I mean, what do you think, D?
I don't think it's a reflection of the fear of men taking their place. I think
Mm-hmm.
it's a lack of, like I said before, a lack of an example. A lot of those kids now, probably, I'm assuming, in where you live. I don't know if you're still in New York, Lynette, but growing up, you've seen it all the time where dads would just leave. You know what I'm saying? I grew up without a dad, but I was
Mm-hmm.
fortunate enough to have older brothers that kind of put me in my place and help me navigate life and
Mm-hmm.
bring me up in that way, right?
Mm-hmm.
So they facilitated a lot, but a lot of kids nowadays, they don't have that. They don't have that strong masculine figure. They don't have that strong man in their life to show them this is what a man looks like. This is what a man does. This is how a man treats a woman. This is what it
Mm-hmm.
is right here. A lot of kids don't have that nowadays. A lot of the younger generation doesn't have that,
Mm-hmm.
and they're being raised by their mother. And no knock to you guys. A lot of women are doing amazing jobs, but there's also a lot of women out there that are not, and they're putting these kids in these positions to where they're they're fighting for their place. They're fighting for their understanding. They don't know what role they need to play. They don't know where it is that they need to. They don't know their left and right limits. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So they're just trying to figure it out at that point. And
Mm-hmm.
the worst thing that anybody can be, I don't care if you're a man or a woman, is trying to figure it out without any guidance. You
Yeah.
know, because then you're
I
just walking in circles in the dark. It's tough. Go ahead.
I wanna throw something another wrench in.
Mhm.
What is masculinity today? I think we were gonna talk about that
We were,
on another
we were.
episode. But I think like kind of a blanket definition of what you believe what masculinity is, and then we could touch on it more further in another episode. But what do you? Because I think it's important. I
Yeah.
mean, call me old fashioned, right?
Hmm.
I truly believe that masculinity is important in today's society, and
Hmm.
masculinity I think has gotten a bad rap from guys doing stupid shit.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
Real
just
shit.
I mean, this
No.
just being completely blunt and honest, right? There's been guys
And
that do stupid shit.
if you really want to get into the intricacies, I think Rizz would probably be one of the
Hmm.
best people to speak on that piece. But there's layers to masculinity,
Hmm.
right? There's definitely layers to masculinity. But the biggest thing that I can say about masculinity is the example that you set as a man will dictate how you move in the future, right? Will dictate, what's up, boss queen? Will dictate
Hmm.
how you are as a person later on, right?
Hmm.
So if, for example, like me and boss queen, and I'm only using boss queen because she's like the last person to comment, if me and her have a conversation and I show her, pretty much what it is that I'm doing in terms of masculinity, how I'm going to be like, this is how it is, this is how I run my household, and the authoritative type. But then
Hmm.
hisses and kisses comes along and I have a conversation with her and I'm a little bit more gentle and I'm a little bit softer. There's those are the layers of masculinity that I'm talking about, right?
Hmm.
Because your masculinity can be felt no matter what, right? If you're a
Hmm.
man, if you're leading and you're living in your masculine, it could be felt no matter what you're doing or how you address people. But certain people would relate to it in a different way than what you portray.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I definitely check in the next couple episodes because we're gonna break that one
Hmm.
in down
Yeah.
the wall. We did it
Yeah, that
once
one's gonna be a
before,
crazy
but
one.
yeah, that
That's
one's so
gonna be a crazy
definitely
one.
check out that one in the next couple of weeks. Uh, I want to shift gears a little bit, right?
Yeah. It's just a
Oh,
heads up, it's 10:15, so this will be the last question, then we'll open up the boxes.
yeah. I want to shift gears a little bit, and when it comes to I guess emotions and stuff like that, as in today's age, like I recently went through a situation with my son, you know,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it was a hard situation. It
Mm-hmm.
really put me on my ass on when I started to think about how I was as a father, how I am as a father.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how do we as men, uh, I guess, get to that point, be a little bit more transparent with ourselves, more vulnerable with ourselves?
Listen, I say this time and time again. You can lie to me all day long. Anybody in the world can lie to anybody else in the world all day long. When they're by themselves, though, they look in the mirror, they're brushing their teeth, they're doing whatever. You're
Hmm.
not lying to that motherfucker looking back at you.
Hmm.
That person is looking at you and they're judging you.
Hmm.
That reflection tells you everything that you need to know. So you want to live in that, you want to live in that idea, you want to live in that thought, you want to be transparent, start being transparent with your reflection.
Hmm.
You be transparent with your reflection, everything else kind of falls into place.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many conversations I had with myself in the mirror, calling myself out like, look, man, you're fucking up,
Hmm.
and the realest part about all of it is that it opens up your eyes and you get to see things from a different perspective. You know, you have to be able to have those honest conversations with yourself. And if you try to lie to yourself, you're just fucking yourself up. You're putting yourself in the worst position. You know what I mean? Like, you could tell me whatever fabricated story you want to tell me, but when you lay your head down at night and you close your eyes, you'll know whether or not that story that you told me was real. You'll feel that shit in your heart. You get what I'm saying? What are your thoughts on it?
I think, like I said, for me, it was kind of tough. It's hard when, not so much that when you mess up, but when the other things come into play that try to distract you from knowing your truth, right? Knowing the truth that you are a good dad, knowing the truth that you are, you know, we talked about this last time about comparison. I think it's very important to, if you like I said before, if you do mess up, hey, you recenter yourself, you apologize, and you keep moving forward. There's nothing you could do about the past, but you can change the course of your future and the course of your family by making the right decisions. But I think there's also something to, when you are right, to holding it true to yourself and reminding yourself. And like I said before, we talked about it, gathering around other men, other fathers, fathers who want to be good dads, who are good dads, who strive to be better men. Surround yourself with that. I'm fortunate to say that, I have you in my life. I got a lot of guys in my life that are just good dads, or dads who really want to be good men, and that inspires me. That motivates me. It pushes me forward to be a better man. And I think that example and kind of just holding on to those truths, I think that really helps. I want to, before because I know we're going to open up the boxes in a second, and I think you already know where I'm going to go with this. So we talked about this. I remember at Thrive in Life, and it was such a powerful kind of moment. I've had this conversation with multiple other men, multiple other fathers, and it's had massive impacts. And I want to talk about seashells.
Seashells.
All right.
Don't do this. I don't want to get emotional the last few minutes, man.
Seashells. All right. So, I want to emphasize the importance for men, especially men, because so often we get so caught up in our careers. We get so caught up in just the day-to-day busyness of life that we often forget to stop and appreciate those moments that really are important as a father, right? And Lynette, I'm glad you're in here, because what I'm going to talk about is actually something that your husband helped me see. So I'll say about a couple of months ago, I was at a bar, and a man was sitting right next to me, and he was telling me about his 4-year-old. And I remember telling him, I said, listen, do yourself a favor and appreciate every moment. Take the time to stop and appreciate every moment. And I told him this story. I said, one time I was in Disney, and Lynette knows this. I was in Disney, and Lynette and her husband Noel came, and they visited us at the pool. And we're sitting at the pool, and my daughter goes up the slide, and she's calling at me from the top, and she's like, Daddy, come down the slide with me. Come down the slide with me. And I'm talking to my buddy, and we're I'm like, all right, honey, like, give me a minute. I'll go down later. How many times do we kind of brush off our kids and say, I'll do it later, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my buddy, he nudged me. He said, don't do that. He said, go down the slide, because there's going to be a day when she's going to stop asking. And man, that hit me like a ton of bricks. It hit me like a ton of bricks. I went down that slide, and every day since then, I've thought about that slide. And it's funny because we went to Disney last year, and we were in that same resort. My daughter doesn't ask me to go down that slide anymore.
It's crazy.
You know, she doesn't ask me to go down.
It was the full circle.
It was the full circle. Now, I'm glad that I had that experience, because when I was going down that slide, I appreciated every moment that I had with her.
Yeah.
Every single moment. Yeah. Because there's this thing, man. I remember I read it, man, and it said, there's gonna be a last time.
Yeah.
There's gonna be a last time, and you're not gonna know when the last time happens until it's too late. There's gonna be a last time when you're gonna pick up your kid and put him in bed, and then you're not gonna hold them the same way anymore.
You're not gonna be able to carry them up.
And you're not gonna notice it until it's too late.
Yeah.
I read this poem once where this mom, she's talking to her kid, and she's a busy mom. Like I said before, I'm gonna do it later, right? The kid says, "Mommy, can you play with me? Mommy, can you play with me?" She says, "Honey, I'll do it later. I'll do it later." And she kept doing it. She kept pushing off the kid. And at some point, she finishes what she's doing. She says, "All right, honey, I'm ready." And the man says, "Mommy, it's too late. Mommy, it's too late." Appreciate those moments, and this is where I get into seashells. Okay,
yeah.
My coach, Dean Graziosi, he was talking about the precious moments, and he said one day his kid was turning, it was his birthday. He wanted to go all out. He rented a plane. He took him to Disney World, ate in the best restaurants, went to the best stores, the works. And he said, and they ended the trip by going to a beach in California, and they were just searching for seashells on the beach. And on the flight back, he asks his son, "So, what was your favorite part of the trip?" And he says, "Daddy, it was searching for seashells with you." See, it doesn't need to be extravagant. It wasn't the Disney trip. It wasn't the plane. It wasn't the restaurants. It wasn't anything extravagant. It was the time that he put in with his son that made that moment special.
Yeah, it's tough.
He called it the seashell moments. Create seashell moments in your life, whether you're a father, whether you're a mother. Create those seashell moments.
You know, it's interesting that you brought that topic up, and we're about to open up the boxes, but real quick, because I had a really difficult time when I first got down here, spending time with my kids, right? And it's been like that for a while. Like, I've been having issues whenever I try to get my kids for a weekend or something like that. It didn't matter what was going on, and it was just tough for me, right? So when I did finally get a chance to have my kids for a weekend, I tried to do everything in that day. And then the next time I got them, I tried to do everything again. The next time I got them, I tried to do it all over again. And then my brother sat down with me after a while. He tells me, he's like, "Why are you doing all that?" I was like, "I don't get to spend time with them. You know, all I want to do is just spend time with my kids. Really and truly, I just want to spend time with my kids. If you want to get to the root of it, like, I want to be present for my kids." And that was it. And then he looked at me, he tells me, "You want to be present for your kids, then stop taking them out so much." I was like, it's the complete opposite of what I'm trying to get at. He's like, "No, it's not. Because if you look at it, you spending time with them and taking them out everywhere. Is that really spending time with them, or are you just trying to make up for lost time and buy affection?
Mm.
And then that put me in a position. I was like, fuck, man. So now I had it in my head after a while, like, just savor the moments, savor the moments that you have, and then everything else will work out later on. You know what I mean? Like, little by little, you can do things. I'm not saying not to do things with your kids when you have them, but just enjoy the moments when you do have them, and they don't have to be as extravagant. So very similar to what you were just talking about. It doesn't have to be, I don't have to get them the biggest gift in the world. I don't have to get them a new bike. I don't have to get all that stuff. I could get them a pack of Pokemon cards and we could sit at the house and play video games. You know, and then that'll
it's
be
just your presence alone.
Yeah, and that's all I needed. You know what I mean? But without any further ado, we're gonna open up the boxes now. If y'all want to come up, send up the request. Rizz, I don't know if you're still in here, brother, but let's get it. You know what I mean? Everybody else, Mudfoot.
Yeah.
You know, the boxes are open now. Just send up the request.
Just send up the request. I'll bring you up. We're gonna try to do it one at a time, so that way we could keep the conversation controlled and everything. Okay.
Yeah.
But definitely go listen. It doesn't take much. Doesn't take much.
It really doesn't, and that's it. And it's mind blowing to see it. It's mind blowing to see it because like we put ourselves in these positions to say that we need to do certain things, you know, and then we kind of force our hand, and then after a while, you know, there's no more forcing of anything because we lost the moment.
Yep.
What's good, bro?
Rizz, what's going on, Coach Rizz?
What's up, guys? How we feeling? Man, y'all touched on so many good points. So many,
and I feel like we just hit the surface. Like
it is just the beginning of things too. Like there's so much more. I really like the seashell story, man. Like that's really good, man. And I think that's something that I take time to do myself with my tiny one. Like, so she had like a heart condition since she was born, and she's been through a few surgeries. So for me, that's when it clicked. I got a 13-year-old son as well. And maybe I didn't do as much of the quality time as I do now with her, but I learned that lesson and it sparked, and it was like, damn, I really could, and no, God forbid, but I could really not have her for any reason. You know what I mean? So like for me, it was, I'll do all of it. Like when y'all touch on the masculinity part, I'm like, bro, I'll wear tutus and tiaras, bro. Like, I'll do all of that because man, it's fun. It's a whole lot of
fun. There's a misconception with masculinity. Everybody thinks masculinity is you got to show your ass, you got to be all stout and everything.
Bro, you know how many times she painted my nails over the last 2 years?
Listen, I don't have a daughter, so I can't speak to that point. But
you know how many times I forgot to take the nail polish off and went to work with a full hand of rainbow nails. Man, listen. Got dudes looking at me on the subway like, what's going on with this guy?
I got a niece. I don't got a daughter. I got a niece, but my niece might as well be my nephew. She's a little thug. She's always trying to fight somebody.
What's up, boss queen? But man, I don't know. You guys, let me know where you want me to start. There was so much.
Listen,
you can ask me anything. You can ask me anything. This is your platform. I'm just here for the ride.
One thing I do want to hear from you is that masculinity piece that we spoke about earlier.
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
Because I feel like you're one of those people that can speak to that piece and say it a lot more elegantly than most. So the floor is yours when you're ready.
So I think the masculinity goes into another part of the topic that y'all were talking about right before that, and that's leadership. Right? It's always going to bleed into that aspect. I think leadership is not just a title. You know how much I love to make the art analogy. It's an art form, right? It's something that you have to cultivate, something that you have to nurture, right? People think that masculinity doesn't involve nurturing. These are common misconceptions. Of course it does. Of course it takes vulnerability. Of course it takes transparency. Of course it takes honesty within self, right? I think too often we see these mirror images of what and I hate to be conspiracy about it, but what the system really wants you to look at it as, when it was never that in the first place. You know, like you said, you had the examples of Uncle Phil. You had the examples of, you know, the Carl Winslows, you know, back in the day, that strong man, but they were still soft when they needed to be. They didn't shy away from giving that extra hug. They didn't shy away from having that tough conversation. You know what I mean? Like that, I really have always believed that there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There never was, because true masculinity will never be toxic. And I don't,
100%.
and I don't even like labeling those guys. I don't like labeling the men. The ones that can wear their insecurities on their sleeve and go about the world under the guise of masculinity and use that bravado. Like you shouldn't ever have to prove your manliness. You should just be the example of what that looks like. You know, it's the old adage of the warrior in the garden, right? I'd rather be a warrior in a garden than a gardener in a war. So let me sit there and be strong and still and stoic while I'm tending some flowers and stopping to smell them and appreciating them as well, right? Rather than having to be on a battlefield all day, every day, not prepared for it.
Yep. 100%. I love that. And I'm glad that you said that, because so many men, I think in today's world, you see it on social media. That's the facade of masculinity, right? And it's like you say, it's this proving. You know, this is what masculine. You don't have to prove. When you're a true man, you don't have to prove it.
Like I said before,
matter of fact, your actions speak for themselves. And your kids will see it. Your family will see it. Your wife will see it. There's no doubt in their mind what it means to be a true man. I love that, Rizz.
So here's a measure of this masculinity when it comes to leadership, right? Because I do think it does take a level of masculinity to be a good leader, and that could be a really strong female. I think everybody has to have that balance. And shout out to our amiga, right? 100%. He talks about balance all the time. We have both masculine and feminine energy.
Yep.
We should know how to balance and manage it properly. Of course, we should do things that are balancing our testosterone. A lot of the foods that are out there are high in producing estrogen, right? Which makes a lot of dudes irregular hormonally. It's deep, right? We can get to the science of it. It gets deep, right? But when it comes down to it, I think when it comes to leadership, it really has to do with being worthy of the authority without demanding authority. It's about putting yourself in a position that shows you're competent enough to be followed, and also being conscious enough to utilize the people that you placed around you. As an effective leader, you should be able to come to that consensus of the people around you, the people that are willing to count on you, the people that are willing to follow you, and trust that their perceptions, their opinions, their judgments could also benefit the direction that you need to head. If you're just spearheading things, tunnel vision, blinded by your own bravado, recipe for disaster every time. You're going to fail 10 times out of 10 if you're just focused on what you want to do, because then you're not taking anybody else into account and what gives them the continued motivation to then support you, right? Because when we talk about having that household, right, the nuclear family, the man and the woman, we have me as the head, right? But what keeps my head up? My neck. And that's the wife, right? Like, that's the woman. She's going to keep my neck on the swivel. She's going to be able to see things that I'm not. She's going to be able to have a touch of perspective that I won't. She may be able to counterbalance some of my more aggressive natures, right? To be able to quell that little beast that pops up, and you're just like, you ready to, step on somebody's neck, and she's like, you know what, but you just bought those kicks. You might not want to step on their neck. And you're like, you know what, you're right. You're right.
Yep.
We need that. We need that balance. We're not supposed to do this by ourselves. We were never meant to do this alone. Even if it's a good bro, right? For like y'all two. Even if you have that good bro and you have that person to go to, like, yo, look, you're doing too much. you got to bring it back in. I think it's easier for us to check us than anybody else, right? Like, because I could give you the same message and you'd be like, oh, fuck Rizz. But Roll tells you something, you're like, you know what? You're right. And we said the same thing.
It's different. Yep.
We said the same thing. We don't have the same rapport. You have no reason to respect my opinion. There's
just to be fair though, that's how he is with me. Flip it, and that's how he is with me. He says "fuck my opinion" all the time. He listens to what you say.
Yeah, bullshit. Oh man,
no, but
I love that.
I like to look at things like when you look at nature, right? You look at animals and stuff like that. If you study their habits and behaviors, right? Look at a wolf. Look at a couple of wolves. Female and a male wolf.
I was just going to use that analogy too. Yep, go right ahead, man.
The female wolf will always come in and then she'll caress her head right under the male wolf's neck. And it's like a beautiful moment, right? And everybody thinks that that's just human nature and people are okay and everybody's happy. But what she's really doing is she's protecting her wolf. You know, if there's any danger around, if there's any predators around, the head wolf, the alpha wolf, is protected because she's already covered his neck. So if anything was to happen, she's already there, ready for him. And that's the balance. That goes back to the balance that you were talking about. You get what I'm saying? And we need it. We need it like 100%. You know?
Yeah. I you know, and just like piggybacking on that wolf analogy, as well as what you were talking about before about leadership. I watched this thing on social media. And it was a bunch of wolves kind of creeping in on this one like animal, and it said, "Can you spot the alpha?" And I mean, you see them like flaring their lips at them. There's just different ones that you could kind of point at and say, "That's the alpha." No, that one's the alpha. The alpha was the one that came at the very back, was calm, collective. Yeah. He was the one that was leading that group. And when he came in, all the other wolves kind of just parted, man. It was amazing to see, but I think so many people have this misconception, especially us as men, right? That if we want to be effective, powerful leaders, that means that we have to be kind of focus all in the front end of our relationships and of our families. And really what it is like you were saying before, Rizz, is leading from the back. You know, putting yourself at the end of the pack and making sure everybody else gets to where they need to be.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing. So like one of my favorite stories on leadership is something that I've taken since I was like a little kid. It was always the idea of King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table. That was always my favorite definition of leadership because he understood from the kings of the past. We learned from our mistakes. We learned from history, right? The kings of the past had always done that. They ruled with the iron fist. Everybody was under them. Everybody had to tiptoe eggshells. There was no questioning the king. You were able to talk to him, but you weren't able to say much, right? King Arthur came in and switched the whole narrative. He was on the front lines with his peoples. He was out there in battle, in the trenches, just like them, and said, look, if y'all going to fight, I'm going to stand here and fight with you because I'm not going to sit there and just be all protected in some castle while you're doing all the work. I'm going to be out there with you to show you that I've earned your respect. And then after he earned their respect that way, he then creates a table that they can all sit around as peers, as equals, regardless of the hierarchy. They never questioned his leadership. Yeah. He was still in the history of that story. He was still King Arthur, right? They were the Knights of the Round Table. No one ever questioned who the king was. And he never had to force that idea. He never had to come out and be, this is me, this is who I am. It's always the loudest one in the room that is the weakest one in the room. It's always the one that has to tell you who they are and what they're about and rah, rah, rah. Yeah, we know. You know what I'm saying? Like if you've ever been in the hood like that, like we know the one that's yapping off with the gums, it's because you can't fight.
Yep. Yeah.
Like for real. I got an older brother like that. He's loud as fuck. He's real quick to talk, especially when we were younger. We used to go out, right? And it's such a funny story. So he's in the park, right? He's playing ball. And he gets into a little beef. I guess they were throwing elbows in the park or whatever. I'm at work, like 2 blocks away. He comes to my job. He's like, yo, I need you to come to the park with me. And I'm like, for what? He's like, yo, these dudes acting crazy. I was like, all right, cool. I talked to my boss. I was like, yo, I don't know what's going on. I got to dip for a second. Give me like half an hour. I'll be right back. Punched out. I'm in a full fucking suit and tie. Full suit and tie. Walk to the park. I see a bunch of dudes that I already know from out there. And he's like, oh, that's your brother? And it's like, yeah. He's like, oh, I didn't know that was you, man. That's your. He's like, that's your little brother? I was like, no, it's my older brother. He's like, yo, he's crazy. You got to check him. I was like, I got you. I was like, but you guys remember, like, you know who I am, right? Like, no, we good. I'm like, okay. I was like, I felt like a dad in that moment where I had to tell them, I had to tell a group of dudes and my brother, if y'all can't play nice together, then don't play with each other at all.
Yep.
Like a fucking dad. And it was that moment where I realized, like, it's a different level of respect. I have to go scream at anybody or pump out my chest. Like, they knew who I was. They know how I give it up already. So, like, you know what it is. Let's not go there. But we don't have to argue about it. Let's just agree to play nice. So if we can't play nice, everybody got to go. And it was in that moment where I saw the dynamic switch and I realized who my brother was. And I'm like, oh, you soft as shit. Got you. Like, got you.
Trying to prove something.
And it was like that after every situation that me and him have encountered. He would always, like, we go out to the club. Of course, he's super, super drunk, super reckless. And then I got to come around him and get in front, like, yo, chill out. That's my brother. You know what I mean? Like, let's not do that. It's so crazy that's how life works. Like, it doesn't really matter the age. It's about your level of understanding, right? It's about knowing your role and knowing how to manage your energy. Because a lot of those things could have ended up getting me in trouble, right? If I went over there and I mishandled that situation.
Yeah. 100%.
And that's why it's important for us to stand in our masculine energy, you know, because if we understand the situations, we got a little bit of foresight. We can see what's going to happen before it don't have to get that far. It don't even have to be that deep. Even when I was in the military, it was like that. You know what I mean? I had soldiers all the time. I don't know if Beefcake is still in here, but he was one of my soldiers up in Alaska. And him and one other dude, they were always beefing. They were always having a problem. But I don't know if you saw what he said in the comment, that I was always like a father to him over there. You know what I mean? So it was the same way. It was the same dynamic, you know. Every time that me and him had a conversation, it was like, hey, this is what you need to fix. Because I know you're starting the shit, you know, but don't come to me if you can't finish the shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That just spawned an interesting idea for me. And it's maybe not so much of an idea, just an observation. Having conversations like this, that character, right? The depths that y'all are willing to go through right now in this present moment. Like, let's stay completely focused on the present. This is masculinity. This is an example of it right now. This is you guys deciding to take the banner of leadership to encourage and inspire other men to understand these topics, to work through these topics, to explain that vulnerability, to express the dynamics of fatherhood, like all the things y'all are doing right now. This is it. This is the example of it. If anybody is seeing it, if anybody's listening to it, you are looking at them right now. This is the example of masculinity. This is what it is. You can see other guys on this app, right? You can see how they navigate their spaces, how they host their lives, how they behave themselves. Not a lot of us are doing this. And y'all are doing exactly what leadership looks like. Y'all are leading by example of true masculinity. Having a deep conversation, showing y'all two bond as brothers. Like, this is touching, and I love it.
I appreciate that, Rizz.
Around, man. This is why we need it. This is why it's needed, bro. Because honestly, like, you talk about those other lives and stuff like that, and then it's just there's one person stirring the pot, and then there's another person adding fuel, and there's another person just getting, you know, they winding somebody up. Somebody's getting wound up, and they just going. You know, they don't even know what they're talking about half the time.
And they all beating their chest, screaming, "I'm the alpha."
Yeah. You know,
everybody's fighting for the spot.
There's no need
real quick. Any closing remarks, Rollin? I have one I want to do, but I want to get to I want to get Rizz. Any closing remarks first from you, and then Rollin.
You guys know my way, man. Treat yourself like somebody you love. You deserve good things. Continue doing exactly what it is you're doing, because leading by examples like this, a lot more people will benefit. And I appreciate you guys for having me.
We appreciate you, Rizz.
Much love. You know you're always welcome,
Rollin?
bro. I will say that keep looking in the mirror, because that's the person that's never going to lie to you.
Mm-hmm. And the one thing that I will say is something that had when we first started the Modern Caveman and the whole evolution road experience, that whole coaching program. I remember we spoke to our boy Joe, and he wrote something down, and I remember it hit me, and I said, you know what, I gotta do something, and I've rephrased it and everything so that it sounded a little bit more I guess intelligible, right? Because when we had it, it was a big jump, but basically in a nutshell, it said the imprints that we make in life are the blueprints that we leave behind. The imprints that we make in life. So as fathers, we're constantly as fathers, we're constantly imprinting on our children's lives, on our families' lives. And what are we doing? We're setting a blueprint. We're setting a blueprint for them to follow, to be the men that they were meant to be. So let's be good examples. Let's lead by example. Let's take the action, and let's move forward. The imprints that we make in life are the blueprints that we leave behind. All right. Rizz, I appreciate you, bro. Thank you so much for coming in. Everybody in the comments, thank you for the engagement. We got almost 12,000 likes on this. We have, I think, the most amount of people join in, a lot new people. We appreciate all the comments, all the gifts, everything. Like I said, this is, it's much appreciated. This is we're doing this for free, and we enjoy doing it. We want to unveil, what it means to walk in the shoes of a man. And
that imprint line, I'm stealing that.
Oh, go right ahead, bro. Go right ahead.
I like that. That's dope.
Yeah, go right ahead, bro. Yeah. So if, like I said before, if you want to replay any of this, check out Evolve with the Modern Caveman on Spotify. I will be putting this on by tomorrow. Special episode 3, Fatherhood. All right, guys. And
hey, everybody,
love you guys.
Happy birthday to Gil. Happy birthday to Modern over here. It's his birthday. He turns a whopping 49 today.
Happy birthday, bro.
Thank you.
It shows
49.
It shows in the grades. But happy birthday, brother. You deserve a good one.
You,
and I hope that you did something or do something later on tonight and just enjoy it. You know what I mean? Because you didn't make it here by accident, bro.
None of us did, right? 100%. All right, guys. Love you guys. Appreciate you. Next week, 9:30. Take care, guys.
Later, everybody.